Depending upon how you look at things, it's either very late at night or fairly early in the morning. Hello everyone, uxwbill here once again. And I'm up at this late night down here in the basement, mainly because I'm waiting for my room air conditioner upstairs to bring things down to an agreeable temperature in my bedroom. It was about 90 degrees out today, and my bedroom being upstairs means it took the brunt of that, and it's presently about 86 degrees Fahrenheit up there right now. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting, there's something really cool that I'd like to take the opportunity to share with you, and yes, this is significantly more than the discombobulated mess of parts that it would appear to be at first glance. This is actually a Panasonic clock radio that I picked up at the Salvation Army thrift store, along with a rather newer digital model with a vacuum fluorescent display. Now this model has a couple of features that I already have on newer units. Specifically, it has not only the AM and FM band, but also the weather band as well. However, unlike my later examples, this is not a truly digital clock. This is a mechanical digital clock. But unlike most of the mechanical digital clocks that I'm sure many of you are used to seeing, this is not a flip clock. This is something far, far more unique than that, and I had only ever seen one of these. It is actually in my list of favorited videos here on YouTube, so if you want to see it, you can pause this video right now, go check it out, or you can check it out after you're done watching this. But I think you'll agree, this has to be one of the most awesome clock and timekeeping mechanisms that there ever was. Now I have to be a little bit careful in getting it out of here because it does have wiring soldered to it. But once I have it out, you can plainly see what makes it so special. Although it is entirely mechanical, it has numbers that consist of 7-segment display elements, and that, folks, is just absolutely, completely awesome. Now, I don't know if I can actually operate the mechanism by hand here with the knobs off of it, but I will certainly try to. That's the alarm function right there. You can see it turning the wheel that sets the alarm time. You can also see the notch where the gear can fall in and turn on the switch that would trip the alarm at the prescribed time in the morning. But what I really want to show you is this, the primary timekeeping mechanism, because it's just so very, very cool to look at. And I really hope that I can get this clock working once again. You can see how the patterns have been printed on the drums, and although they look nothing like numbers that you and I would recognize, for reasons that I don't fully understand, but maybe someone can explain it, you can see that as they move behind the various display elements, they turn into perfectly formed numbers. However, the ones on the end have suffered a little from deformation and discoloration, probably from the heat of some kind of an illuminator lamp. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera. Maybe you can if I turn the light on here. We'll see. Yep, right there. Right there is the little tiny illuminator bulb. And I would imagine that it probably burned out quite a long time ago, fortunately sparing this mechanism, hopefully, from any further degradation. But here, I'll go ahead and turn it through a few numbers just so you can see how this was designed to work and what happens when the hour changes from 8 o'clock to 7:59. There it is right now. I just can't get over how awesome of a mechanism this is. So what if I'm guilty of being easily amused? So be it. This is just completely made of awesome. But, like I said, this poor clock doesn't run. The common problem with a lot of these electrically operated mechanical digital clocks is the motor. The motor in the mechanism either cannot overcome the resistance of grease and things hardening up in the mechanism, or it simply fails for some other reason. I've never actually caught one in the process of failing, and the functional flip clocks I have do not spend a lot of time plugged in for that reason, because these motors are also very difficult to find replacements for. And by very difficult, I mean practically impossible. If somebody was to get into the business, as they have with certain older wall clocks, of making replacement motors, I would think that they would sell like hotcakes, because there's a world of these clocks out there but there aren't a whole heck of a lot of them that still have working motors, and that is really getting to be a problem. Well, I plugged this thing in at the Salvation Army's thrift store, and I discovered that it too had the problem of simply not running. But when I got it home and took it all apart like you see it here, I also discovered that the little motor was actually getting warm in operation, and it was making some kind of a mechanical twitching noise. So I knew that it had to be at least partially alive, but I was still afraid that maybe it was suffering from an internal short circuit or an open circuit in one or more of its windings. I also find the designation, the manufacturer's name on it, to be very interesting. Sankyo Intermatic. That's very surprising. The union of a Japanese and American company at that particular point in history seems rather unusual, especially when you consider that it's an almost certain thing that a Japanese company would have been able to produce a timing motor all on their own without any help from an American company such as Intermatic. So I find that very interesting. For whatever reason, the two companies, both of which are still around today, decided to engage in a joint venture. Let me go ahead and take this motor apart, and I'll show you what's wrong. And I'll also beg for your help, because I'm hoping that someone out there might be able to help me. And if you can, by all means, please send me a YouTube private message. Serious inquiries only, please. Right there you can see and possibly even hear the little motor running. But you can definitely see that there is a problem, as that larger gear, which should be revolving slowly, is doing absolutely nothing. Okay, everybody, I've gone ahead and removed a little gear from the mechanism right here so that you can better see what's wrong. This is the output shaft of the little motor, and due to the mechanical advantage provided it by this gear train, it is actually under very little stress. But the minuscule amount of stress that it has been under constantly for probably the last 40 years, I'd guess this thing dates from the early 1970s or thereabouts, has unfortunately taken its toll. You can probably just barely make out. I'm not sure if it'll survive the camcorder and the video compression process or not. But once upon a time, this drive wheel coming out of the motor that provided power to the rest of the mechanism had gear teeth on it, and unfortunately, they are all gone. They've just worn away. The soft plastic has gradually been chewed up to the point where the mechanism can no longer run properly. Every so often it'll manage to get just enough of an engagement with this gear that I'm putting back in place right now to go ahead and run for, a second or so. But when it's got the rest of the weight of this mechanism against it, it can't manage to move at all. So this is a very unfortunate situation for what is a very cool alarm clock radio. And I thank you for watching. Hopefully someone out there can help, either with a good working motor, the ability to manufacture a new gear for me, or, even just to express your condolences. Thank you for watching, and by all means, feel free to leave a comment if you have one.